We got to get into this game, man. Y'all know Caitlin Clark played small forward for the entire first half of the game, all the way until about 4 minutes left in the third quarter when the Indiana Fever were down by 9. The girl was playing small forward. Aaliyah Boston brought the ball up the whole first 3.5 quarters. This is ridiculous. This is malpractice. Stephanie White should be fired immediately.
The Indiana Fever's season has taken a shocking turn. What looked like a championship-ready team is now falling apart at the worst possible time. After those back-to-back losses, questions are exploding around the franchise, especially over Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham's future. Just weeks ago, everything looked perfect. Caitlin Clark was controlling games, creating chances, and leading the offense. Sophie Cunningham was knocking down threes and bringing energy every night. The Fever had the talent, the chemistry, and the fan support to make a serious playoff run. Now, that confidence is gone. With the postseason getting closer, Indiana is struggling badly, and the biggest question is simple: what went wrong behind the scenes?
Half quarters. I'm ready to lose my mind, bro. We got the best point guard in the league. Why is our center playing point guard? Meanwhile, Jonquel Jones was punishing her ass the whole first half. This is crazy, man. This is crazy, bro. Like, Kelsey Mitchell kept her streak going. That's all that matters around here, right? Kelsey Mitchell gets her streak. Yeah, that's all that matters. Indiana Fever lose again. Coaching blunder. This was ridiculous, man. Caitlin Clark, I can't make an excuse for you missing the 2 free throws down the stretch. We were down 3 or whatever we was down. I think we was down 4. You missed 2 free throws. I can't excuse. I don't know what's going on with you at the free throw line. I don't know. What I can say is, once we started to play Caitlin Clark's style in the third quarter, when we played, bro, the second we didn't run pick and roll with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston all first half. We finally ran it toward the end of the third quarter. You know what happened? Caitlin Clark.
The Fever looked completely out of sync. The offense stalled, the defense broke down, and the energy disappeared as Indiana suffered 2 painful losses at the worst possible time. Fans were left asking one question: how did a team loaded with talent fall apart so quickly? Now, the controversy is growing around Stephanie White. Critics argue that her system is failing to maximize Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham, while the team continues to struggle when the pressure rises. And that raises a bigger question: is Indiana's coaching approach becoming the biggest problem heading into the playoffs?
A list of tweets here, and I don't even want to talk about this damn game. I have a list of tweets to read, and we're going to read these tweets one by one. Shout out to Jason. Jason said this rotation pattern is coaching malpractice. Caitlin Clark hits 2 straight buckets, finally gets into rhythm, and you immediately sub her out because apparently the rotation clock is more important than reading the damn game. Every single game.
Then came the decision that shocked everyone. Stephanie White moved Caitlin Clark away from her natural point guard role and pushed her into a spot-up position. That meant the Fever took the ball out of their best playmaker's hands and reduced her control over the offense. Instead of letting Clark dictate the pace and create for everyone, Indiana turned her into a secondary option. For a player built to run the entire attack, that change could be costing the Fever far more than anyone expected.
They clinched last night with a loss from another team, and they said, we could take our foot off the gas. They saw themselves climbing in the standings, and over these last 2 games, they said, we can take our foot off the gas. Stephanie White said, okay, we got our playoff berth wrapped up. We're good here. I'm not sure what it is. A lot of questions still surrounding this team. What's their mental toughness like? It seems like we luck into these wins against in these close games. It doesn't seem like we really out-muscle or out-grit a team. You just kind of, it either falls into our lap or Caitlin Clark hits a game-winning 3 against the Washington Wizards. It doesn't really seem like we outplay teams. It seems like our opponents fall apart. And today, the New York Liberty, they almost fell apart themselves. But they held on late. 109-102. Caitlin Clark, moves into 4th in franchise history in three-pointers made. 243, passing Brianne January. I know Brianne January's sick. And Kelsey Mitchell, 22 short games for Kelsey Mitchell with 20-plus points, extending her WNBA record. Now let's take a look at the box score. We allow 30 points in multiple quarters. We're not going to win like that.
The move completely backfired. It was like taking football's best quarterback and forcing them to play receiver just to make a statement. The Fever's offense fell apart, spacing disappeared, and their transition attack stalled. Worse, Sophie Cunningham was barely involved. Without Caitlin controlling the offense, Sophie lost the open three-point chances that made her dangerous. Stephanie White had basically taken 2 of her biggest weapons out of the game. The Fever looked completely lost and paid the price in the standings. White wanted to prove she was in control, but this decision may have created a much bigger problem. She expected Caitlin and Sophie to stay quiet and follow orders, but that was a huge mistake.
Just like that. Just like that. And then it's like you bring back in Aaliyah, you bring back Kelsey, and we go back to the same old thing. It's just like, bro, I'm just sick of this coach, man. I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago Sky beat this team tomorrow. Sydney Taylor's gonna be back. She's gonna go for 30 on them tomorrow. I mean, this team is garbage, man. We had the 3rd seed in the palm of our hand. By the time the playoffs come, we might be sitting in like 7th place. We might be stuck going to Golden State in round 1. And that means you're going to get bumped and lose in round 1. How embarrassing is that? If you're going to be playing this...
Everything has now reached a breaking point in Indiana, and what happens next could completely change the future of the Fever. Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham are reportedly furious, and this is no longer just about one bad game or one questionable coaching decision. The frustration has reportedly turned into a serious internal conflict, with the 2 stars feeling that their talent is being wasted when the team should be fighting for wins. Both players are competitors who want one thing above everything else: winning. So when the offense stops putting the ball in Caitlin's hands and Sophie starts disappearing from the game plan, the frustration becomes impossible to ignore. After multiple disappointing losses, the situation behind the scenes is reportedly becoming extremely tense. And that is where this story gets even more interesting. Reports and fan reactions suggest the relationship between the stars and head coach Stephanie White has become increasingly strained. Caitlin has reportedly seen her role reduced at times, while Sophie has struggled to find the same open opportunities she normally gets when Caitlin controls the offense. That combination has left fans wondering whether the Fever are creating their own problems at the worst possible time. One viral reaction summed up the frustration perfectly. Caitlin was reportedly pushed from a primary role into more of a secondary option, while the offense was being run through other players. Sophie, meanwhile, appeared frustrated during the 4th quarter, especially when she felt she was not getting enough involvement. At one point, during a fast break, Sophie reportedly looked toward Caitlin and directed the ball back to her. Caitlin did not convert the opportunity, and immediately, critics started pointing toward her missed free throws. But that misses the bigger issue. One bad shot, 2 missed free throws, or one quiet scoring night does not explain why the entire offense looks disconnected. Caitlin is a rhythm player. When she has the ball, she can create shots, attack defenses, find teammates, and control the pace. But when the offense takes the ball out of her hands, that rhythm can disappear. And when Caitlin loses rhythm, players around her can struggle too. That is exactly why fans have been questioning the current system. One frustrated commentator argued that the Fever have one of the most talented point guards in the league, yet the offense sometimes looks like it is designed to keep the ball away from her. Instead of allowing Caitlin to create naturally, she can end up forcing difficult shots simply because the normal offensive flow is not giving her enough opportunities. And this is not the first time that criticism has appeared. Caitlin has reportedly had games where she struggled early, then tried to force her way back into rhythm. When that happens, the box score may show missed shots, but the real story is often what happened before those shots were taken. That is why the frustration around Indiana has become so intense. Fans are not only looking at Caitlin's numbers, they are looking at the entire offensive structure. They are asking why a player capable of creating offense at an elite level is not consistently placed in situations where she can control the game. At the same time, Sophie Cunningham has become another major part of the conversation. Sophie's value comes from her ability to stretch the floor and knock down open shots. But those opportunities often depend on someone creating them. When Caitlin is controlling the ball and drawing defenders, Sophie can find space on the perimeter. When Caitlin is moved away from that role, Sophie can suddenly become much easier for defenses to take away. That creates a dangerous chain reaction. Caitlin gets fewer chances to create. Sophie gets fewer open looks. The offense becomes predictable. The defense gets comfortable. And suddenly, the Fever are fighting through games they should be controlling. Even the numbers from other players have sparked debate. Lexi Hull, for example, had a quiet night with 0 points, 2 rebounds, and 1 assist. Aaliyah Boston, meanwhile, delivered a much stronger performance with 22 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds. Those numbers show something important. The Fever still have talented players. The problem is finding a system that consistently gets the best out of all of them. Another debate centered around the frontcourt and how Indiana is using its size. When Aaliyah Boston is spending too much time away from the paint, some fans believe her biggest strengths are being reduced. Her size, rebounding, and interior presence become less valuable if she is constantly being pulled toward the perimeter. That same issue can create problems on defense. Indiana needs Boston near the basket, where she can protect the rim and control rebounds. But when opposing bigs pull her outside, the Fever have to make difficult decisions about matchups and rotations. Those tactical questions have only added more fuel to the growing criticism. And then there is the money. Fans have started questioning whether certain roster decisions are giving the Fever enough production in return. One frustrated reaction even targeted Monique Billings and Ty Harris, while giving credit to Myisha Hines-Allen and Michaela Timpson for their contributions. Timpson reportedly finished with 10 points and 6 rebounds, while Boston posted those impressive 22 points and 6 assists. But the criticism becomes even louder when expensive players are not producing at the level fans expect. That is why the pressure on Stephanie White is growing. The argument is no longer simply about whether the Fever won or lost one game. It is about whether the coaching system is maximizing the talent already on the roster. And if Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham truly believe their best basketball is being held back, the consequences could become enormous. There have already been claims that the two stars could eventually consider demanding trades. Those reports should be treated cautiously, because nothing has officially confirmed that either player has made such a demand. But even the possibility is enough to send shockwaves through the franchise. Because losing either star would be massive. Losing both would completely transform the Indiana Fever. Caitlin is not just an elite basketball talent. She is one of the biggest names in the sport. Sophie also brings personality, shooting, energy, and a strong connection with fans. Together, their value goes far beyond what appears on a box score. That is why the idea of both players leaving has fans extremely concerned. The Fever have built enormous attention around their stars, and the fan base has become deeply connected to the players themselves. Across social media, many supporters have made their feelings clear. They follow the stars, not simply the logo. If Caitlin and Sophie ever walked away, the impact could reach far beyond the court. Attendance, television interest, merchandise sales, sponsorship attention, and overall media coverage could all be affected. The Fever would have to rebuild not only their basketball identity, but also much of the attention surrounding the franchise. And that puts Stephanie White and the Indiana front office in a difficult position. They now have to ask themselves a very serious question. Is the current system worth risking the relationship with the team's biggest stars? Because if the answer is no, then something may need to change quickly. The Fever cannot afford to waste opportunities while their most important players are frustrated. They need Caitlin creating. They need Sophie spacing the floor. They need Boston controlling the interior. And they need every major piece working toward the same goal: winning. That is ultimately what this entire controversy comes down to. Caitlin Clark does not need to prove that she can carry attention. Sophie Cunningham does not need to prove that she belongs on the floor. The Fever need to prove that they can build a system around their talent and give themselves the best possible chance to win. Right now, the pressure is enormous. One side wants control, the other wants results. And if these tensions continue to grow, the biggest question in Indiana may no longer be about the next game. It could be about who is still wearing a Fever jersey when the next chapter begins. Something is seriously wrong in Indiana, and this latest decision has fans asking one massive question. What is Stephanie White doing with this lineup? Aaliyah Boston finished with just 3 rebounds in 30 minutes. That is basically 1 rebound every 10 minutes. And somehow, Caitlin Clark had more rebounds than her. For a team trying to win, those numbers are impossible to ignore. But the bigger problem was the coaching. While New York got a huge boost from Leilani Febick returning with 20 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds, Indiana struggled to find any rhythm. Jonquel Jones finished with 19 and 10, Brianna Stewart had 22, 8, and 7, while Michaela Timpson and Myisha Hines-Allen battled hard inside. Sophie Cunningham also gave Indiana 10 points off the bench and hit some important shots. Yet despite those efforts, the Fever still looked completely out of sync. And then came the decision that had everyone talking. Stephanie White reportedly used Aaliyah Boston to bring the ball up the floor, while Caitlin Clark was pushed toward the small forward role. Caitlin, one of the team's best creators, was no longer controlling the offense the way fans expected. The result? Caitlin started rushing shots and missing opportunities she normally converts. That is why this is bigger than one bad game. The Fever need to put their best players in positions where they can actually succeed. If Caitlin is not running the offense, Sophie loses spacing, Boston gets pulled away from the paint, and the entire system starts breaking down. Now the pressure is on Indiana. Do they stay with this approach, or finally make a major change before things get worse? And I want to hear from you. Should Caitlin Clark be put back in control of the offense immediately? Drop your answer in the comments. If you want more breaking WNBA updates, shocking coaching developments, and the latest Caitlin Clark news, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because if this situation gets even bigger, you do not want to miss what happens next.